All right, now, everybody. Quiet, listen to me. We're going to start a show. Now, some of you people have been with me before. You know it's going to be a tough grind, but we're going to have a show.
Hello. Oh, I hate a layoff, you know. I like to get in the fight every day. But I had a little layoff, you know. Little vacation. And Kim handled things so magically, didn't she? I thought she was really good. Yeah, I know. I caught a bunch of the show. I thought it was quite good. Albert, well done, sir. I don't know how you do it. You know,
Albert, thank you.
You're a guy who's working the side hustle. And you still seem to mean it feels like it's your main hustle because that's the kind of dedication.
There's never been anything like this
that you provide. Exactly. So today I am going to, just bouncing off of the 4th of July, mention stuff about America that I think is good, you know. But I know we're in a very troubled time in this country, so we'll have a little conversation about that. The RFK Jr. phenomenon is real, and he's reaching millions, tens of millions of people through alternative media outlets, which actually have, I think, as much reach as the mainstream outlets. So today, check this out. Jim Avila is going to join us. He's written a new column about how the media should handle RFK Jr., how you should handle in general those who come at you with a fire hose of stuff, some of which I would say, I think Avila would probably say, you know, it's all BS. I would say some of it is not BS. That's the problem. It's all packed in, as I suggest, this blast of stuff, much of which you can knock down, but it would take, you know, it would take the better part of a day to, you know, pick apart everything that's said and then prove with studies and prove with various notations that whatever RFK Jr. has said is wrong. And then, wrapped in the RFK Jr. message, there is stuff that is correct, or at least it's arguable. And so to really go after an RFK Jr. in a media environment, I'm talking about a Q&A, you have to kind of really know this territory. I think it's an extremely...
Not enough just to say he's cuckoo? You can't just say cuckoo. Nope.
I don't think, I mean, I think
yep,
you can.
Do more than that. Yeah.
In the same way that it said, well, they're libs. You can't pay any attention. Don't pay attention to anything they say. They're liberals. You know what I mean? It's like, all right, but the libs might have some stuff. Or, you know, when we just talk about the MAGA people, the MAGA people, I put in a category of it's a cult. You know, it's a cult of worship of Trump. Mm-hmm. But that doesn't mean that the grievances that gave rise to the cult aren't worth paying attention to, because those grievances reflect a lot of what's going on in America in large enough numbers that the guy won the presidency. Yeah. So all I'm trying to say is these things can't be dismissed as cuckoo or whatever. So you good, Courtney? Courtney's here, everybody. How about it for Courtney? Yeah. Courtney, hold on, please. Go ahead. Now you can speak.
Okay, great. Yeah, I can hear myself.
Courtney, I am bringing you on for a reason. We just came off vacation, and I want to thank you for tolerating me for the vacation period, which was...
Too long?
It was, what, six days, something like that?
Something like that.
And... you know, we're two pasty white people as I look at myself. Kim, you're also on the pasty white side, aren't you?
Indeed. I don't tan. When I walk out into the sun, I turn bright red within 2 minutes. That's how I roll.
We're similarly challenged. Yeah. I hate it. Courtney, I don't think you're not full of the kind of self-hate that I have.
Maybe it's not as evident as yours.
your package of pasty whiteness is much more attractive than mine, as is yours, Kim. But
that's
anyway.
not true. Although that's real. When we were out on the lake, having just come back from Lake Tahoe, I was I was orienting the kayak so that the sun wouldn't be directly on us, knowing that we might not survive that.
Yeah, it's true. We burned, but we
So
did.
You guys were out on the lake. Did you see the plane crash into the lake on Saturday in Rubicon Bay?
It's funny that you ask because the answer is no.
Okay.
But it made some big news with, and I was the one who broke the news to Courtney, which is usually not the way it works. Courtney is a big news breaker, typically.
Well, also, we wanted to go hiking that day, and the trails to go hiking, a lot of the great trailheads start in that area, which is Emerald Bay, I believe. Mm-hmm. So it was something that we had been discussing and looking up that morning and the evening before. So in that sort of spirit, it was something that was on our minds.
Yeah, that's true. That we actually turned around because the traffic was so stopped up, and it was stopped up because of emergency vehicles in that area. So, but very good topical question about Lake Tahoe and also news. I will ding it.
Yeah.
I am the Mark Thompson Show Network news person. So
yes,
this is my jam. Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly. Well, I had a good question. I thought. I asked Jeff. We were out on a boat, a friend's boat, and he said to us, "This
is very on brand for
I
Courtney.
know everything about this lake, and so you can ask me any question, and I would be able to answer it."
So we're on Lake Tahoe, and he makes that statement. And Courtney, again, you know her. People who've watched the show know this. Go ahead.
Here comes
the question. He speaks about how the glaciers sculpted the lake, and he starts talking about the history of the lake. And I ask, how many dead bodies are in the lake? which he laughed at, which is good. He said a lot. So we started to guess whether it was hundreds or thousands. I thought it was hundreds.
You can't recover a body; it's too deep, right?
No, it's gone.
Yeah, it's hundreds. Is the answer.
But
hundreds leaves open quite a wide area. Could be 200, it could be 900.
Whole, casino area, like Cal Neva, when it was open, that was all mobbed up. So it could be thousands.
It could be.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
I don't know, but thousands is a lot. But okay.
Well, the lake's been there a while. There's a lot of people losing money off at that part of the lake.
Keeping track of that.
Yeah.
We were talking last night. So I've got the Avila thing coming up bottom of the hour. We're talking about RFK Jr., how to cover him. I also have some big news out of Washington. I want to comment on the Supreme Court cases. There's a lot going on. The cocaine found at the White House is a bizarre story. I'll follow up on that. We have, I don't know if we're going to get to stories from the sky today. I have stories from the sky. I've got a great heist story. I've got a great pickleball story. I've got so much going on. I know it really is worthy of some a smattering of recorded applause.
I hope you have a story in here. Did you hear that cocaine was found in the White House?
Yeah, I just said that. Albert,
did you say that?
Does Kim not listen to the show?
I heard your list. I didn't hear. I must have missed that one.
Yeah.
Albert, thank you.
Albert, are you? Of course, now Albert's not listening to the show. It is a.
Does anybody listen to the show?
I don't. Is there a show even happening?
Yeah, Mark, I put in a story in the rundown about the cocaine in the White House. I just wanted to let you know.
Yeah. Oh my
That's very
God.
funny.
Whoever is producing this thing has no idea what they're doing.
I see what you're all doing now. You're gaslighting me. All right. Anyway, before I get to many of these things, first I want to thank all of you for showing Kim the same degree of respect and support that you show me. Actually, you show her way more.
Yeah, they're nicer to me because they don't expect as much of me as they expect of you. So
is that the explanation?
I think the bar is lower a little bit. That's nice.
No.
We will we'll get to all those stories. We are we're a show that exists because of you. In fact, Kim comes from KGO Radio, Albert comes from KGO Radio, and I come from there. And we took everybody and we brought this show to YouTube. So if you're new, this is a hybrid. It's kind of a radio show, television, or internet, YouTube thing. So we have to ask you to do a bunch of things that we didn't have to do on radio, one of which is smash the like button like a boss. I mean, hit the thumbs up, and that's important.
Smashed it with your iron rod.
Because the number of likes you have, important in the, what is it, the algorithms of YouTube. Yeah. And the other thing is that we're crowdfunded. So if you haven't yet, you can find us at themarkthompsonshow.com. And there are links to Patreon and PayPal, and that's the way you support the show. And that's really, literally the way that we stay on. So thank you all who step up in that way, and everybody who participates in the chat and are part of this community. We love it. We love it, love it, love it. All right, now.
The Mark Thompson Show.
It was 4th of July, and it is the United States of guns, and I knew there would be these shootings. You just don't know where they're going to happen. I'm going to talk about July 4th and what we celebrate in a second, but before I do, I feel like that is pretty pressing in the way of an ongoing concern that we have in this country. Albert, what happened on the 4th of July? Go ahead. This is over the weekend.
Armed and armored individual wreaked havoc, firing with a rifle at their victims, seemingly at random, shooting 7, killing 5, including children, babies.
The suspect, who allegedly surrendered, was identified by sources as 40-year-old Kim Brady Carricker, whose previous run-ins with the law include drug and gun charges. Meanwhile, in Fort Worth, Texas, 3 people were killed and 8 wounded at a holiday event. Police say multiple gunmen fired into a crowd after a dispute between rival groups. So far this year, the U.S. has seen at least 348 mass shootings, defined as having 4 or more victims injured or killed. That number has nearly tripled in the last decade. Experts say one factor is gun demand, and therefore gun production has been steadily rising since the pandemic. One survey found 18% of American households bought a gun during the pandemic. Police say the streets have been flooded with more weapons, prompting more people to opt for gun fights instead of fist fights. As for the alleged shooter in Philadelphia, police are still investigating a motive. The suspect is due in court today.
Hi, everyone.
So
George Stephanopoulos.
that's the wrap on Philadelphia, on Dallas. I thought that's not an incidental point, that more and more of these situations are resolving themselves with gunfire as opposed to any other method of confrontation. It's just so on brand for this country. It is, I think, increasingly. Happy Wednesday, everyone. This is Elwin. What up, Elwin? With a quick $1.99 super chat. If you can always jump in the super chat. Super chat, super stickers are there here on YouTube. And so thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
And Anna Herring, thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
I think that it's almost a part of American life to the point of becoming, I'm going to suggest on some level, it's a defining aspect of life in America, this kind of gun violence. So I told you the story before about asking for directions. I was in Hungary, and they were giving me directions, and there was you go down that alley, blah, 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 and it was like this dark alley, and I said, is there another way to go? I don't really want to go down a dark alley, and he said, you don't have to worry. We don't have guns here like you have in the United States. Like, wow. So I feel as though, day after day, year after year, and holiday after holiday, there is this problem that we have with guns. And July 4th and 5th have the most mass shootings of any day of the year. So even as we were beginning the 4th of July and we were talking off the air, and I know you talked on the air, I was so glad to hear you, Kim, address the fireworks thing. I just feel as though, again, we've outgrown it. We're in California where everything can go up. We suffer from tremendous sensitivities because we lost our neighborhood to fire.
Yeah.
But still, it doesn't make sense. So even allowing for that bias, and there's so many other ways to celebrate with the, and I've left out, I've talked about the fire. I've left out this horror show that animals go through. Dogs and cats are just, and birds and other creatures. We always talk about dogs and cats because those are the ones that we interact with. But there are other animals out there as well in the wild, and they're horribly affected
Freaking out.
also. Yeah. So, but mass shootings are the thing.
I was reading this story, and I can't quote you the source right now, but I was reading the story the other day, and it was a ranking of, they do it every year, this ranking of the safest, most peaceful countries, where you go there and you're less likely to get shot at or whatever. It's based on political situations, like what's this, the temperature politically.
Yeah, the stability of the politics.
Peace, yeah, stability of the country, the peace in the country, the gun situation, whatever. It's for Iceland is number one, peaceful, nice, mellow, not violent. Iceland. The United States, we slipped. We were 131st last year. This year we're 133rd.
We're 133rd?
Yeah.
Meaning we're
way down the list.
On the list of stability,
on the list
and
of
where you're likely to
stability. Because and you don't think of America.
This is Casey
like that.
Kasem on American Top 40 in Hollywood.
Today we're ranking the most stable political countries in the world.
You think
the
that
United
America
States
is
slipping
like,
2 spots to 135. Stop me! Don't interrupt me when I'm doing my Casey Kasem impression.
I'm sorry, I didn't know when it was gonna end.
I always say that. Every day.
Albert, I want that as a drop. I didn't know when it was going to end. I'm sorry, I didn't know when it was going to end as a drop. Go ahead, Kim.
Courtney, I think you're my very favorite. No, I mean, I feel like you think America, when I think of America, I think of, always having been grateful to have this country that has political stability, and that, you see these riots happening and these coups happening in other countries, and, guns being fired and people with, assault rifles monitoring the country. I mean, these are countries where anything could happen at any moment. You go to Costa Rica, 1 minute it's peaceful and fine, the next minute there's guerrillas with guns, whatever. Not America, right? That's not where this is supposed to happen. Well, it turns out we're not so safe either. Our political system was challenged, and we survived the test, but it's not something I ever saw happening. So I think we slip further and further down the list.
Well, you actually said a few things there, and I think they're all worthwhile. The first of which I'll mention is related to the violence, because that's how we got into this. Gun violence. The thing about our gun violence increasingly is that it's random. Some of the gun violence to which you've referred is related to gang warfare, Mexico, Costa Rica. You mentioned. I don't really know much, to be honest, about the Costa Rican gang situation or their violent situation, but I do know about Mexico, and that's related to drug cartels, and it's related to territory, and you can get in the crossfire of that, and you could even get into a mistaken identity thing with that. There have been cases of that as well, but generally it's related to that stuff. Okay, there are one-offs where tourist areas are affected, etc., but in general it's related to that kind of territory. Then you go to other countries that are on that list, where you have militias that are taking charge of streets, and you have various political factions that are shooting it out. And it's a very dangerous, unstable situation. And now to the second point you make, Kim is very right, or that article is very right, about stability of politics. One of the reasons that the U.S. is one of the leading, if not the leading economy in the world, is because of the stability of what? The political system. The investor wants stability, wants predictability. And so investors and money flows to that stuff politically that's stable, those countries, those places that are stable. So this is no small point that we've dropped down that list, because increased instability, the more crazy that exists here, the less our economy will be as robust as it has been. And that is one of the strengths of the U.S. But the 4th and the 5th of July, typically the most violent of the year. So the most mass shootings of any days of the year. And That's on every graph, and it's awful. And this July 4th, in Akron, in Edgewood, Maryland, in Shreveport, Louisiana, in Lansing, Michigan, in Hayward, in Washington, D.C. on the 5th, already 9 injured. I mean, it's insanity. And all of those I just mentioned had multiple injuries or deaths associated with those shootings. So what do we celebrate on July 4th? What about America are we celebrating? I mean, like most holidays in this country, it's sort of just, it's a holiday. It's barbecues, it's get people together. There's not some somber reflection going on or even excited reflection going on, typically, right, at any of these things. And I include Memorial Day, Veterans Day, Martin Luther King Day, whatever, you name it. Typically, we just, go through the motions and get together with friends or whatever, go on vacation. But when those fireworks are going off and, we're doing all of that, it's supposed to be a celebration of freedom, right? Of independence. Isn't that how it all started? Yeah. I would suggest we just touch on the fact that they should figure out a different way to celebrate besides the fireworks, just because of all the attendant problems. And we have technologies now that laser and drones and that can make for great sky shows. You don't need, the fireworks. But that aside, what are we celebrating now in America? What's good about America is what I would ask. So I asked Courtney this question last night. And you had, I thought, a couple of good. I mean, I have my answers I'll give you. In fact, I think I put them in the description of the show. But go ahead. What did you say?
Well, the first suggestion I made was true crime. Which seems a little light to be mentioning it, but true crime is certainly. We also talked about.
So you feel that because we have a lot of the Dateline podcast, you feel that should be something that should be celebrated in this country?
Well, considering maybe there's not that much, it gets to the top pretty quickly, at least for my list.
Yeah.
And that's like everything around true crime, the podcasts, the programming.
Right.
I mean, there's entire channels devoted to it.
So
yeah,
true crime, you love true crime in America.
True crime.
That you like the discussion of true crime, you like the podcast, you like, okay. All right, so that's one of the things you feel really works in this country. All right.
Yeah, that was number one.
I don't know that that's going to be on any brochures.
I mean, I don't know if it's a marketing point.
Yeah. Is there anything else besides the true crime that you kids like about this country?
I also mentioned technology,
yes,
but with an asterisk, because I think that as many great companies are building technologies in the U.S., there's also a lot of harm that's happening from those technologies. But that was something that came to mind, was technologies. And actually, anyway.
No, I think that's a really great point. I think there are two good points there. One is that technology is something, a lot of the technologies that have changed the world and continue to change the world are birthed right here in America. I'll come back to that in a second because it's for another reason that I think is another thing you can celebrate about this country. But the second point you make, which maybe should be the first point, is that the technology is troubling, right? It's both advancing and it's also horribly threatening.
Yeah, exactly. And there's such monopolies. I mean, even today, Meta announced their competitor, to Twitter.
Yeah.
And so you have a lot of companies that control a lot of the access and conversations that are happening online. But also in that spirit, I mean, there's been a lot of transformation that's happened from U.S.-based technology companies.
Right.
Yeah.
And now I double back to say one of the things that's great about this country is the freedom. This is a freedom thing. The freedom with which you can build a company and launch a technology and find funding for it and all the rest. Now, the world, I think, is getting hip to that, so there are other places to do it, Yes. I know a lot of stuff comes out of Israel. I believe some of the Scandinavian countries have birthed some pretty big technologies as well.
Yes.
And I don't want to leave Asia out.
Yes.
But I think the freedom here it really does, help you take off.
Yes.
So you like technology with the asterisk, and you like true crime.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Kim, do you have any thoughts about what this past 4th of July yesterday? And
well, I have a third.
Oh, you have a third. I
yeah,
apologize.
I have a third.
Yes.
My third was Dolly Parton.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
You do like Dolly Parton. And she is
She was the third suggestion that I made last night.
So I tried to argue country music comes out of America, which is true. And country music, I think, is terrific. And there are all kinds of subgenres of country. You know, there's bluegrass and there's,
but I was saying that music has
country rock.
Yeah, but music has its roots in all different other
Courtney,
types of music. So it's informed by many different things over the course of time. But Dolly Parton, she is American through
Dolly
and through.
Parton.
Yeah.
Dolly Parton is American and is terrific.
She was my third suggestion.
And there's no asterisk on Dolly
No,
Parton.
no.
She is all...
She's just great. We love Dolly Parton.
Yeah, she's all magic.
That's who I came up with for third.
Well, mine are perhaps a little more boring. We'll get to Kim's as she's rejoining.
Yeah. What were yours? I didn't see what I don't watch the show, so I didn't see what you wrote.
Yes, of course. Thank you. No, I wrote diversity. I think there's great diversity in America, and I love it. I really love the fact that there's so many different ethnicities, so many different cultures, and they help craft a whole bunch of really cool stuff, that make this country really great.
Yeah, I was going to mention that because a lot of the great minds that are building at the technology companies are not native to the U.S. And so you're right. I think diversity is a really important.
And I think you have to look at the economy. I mean, the economy of the U.S. is stronger than other economies in the world. There's a reason for that. Now, you can say it's being mismanaged, and you can say, the economy has all kinds of issues that we should address. You can even, I think, take issue with any number of economic relief packages. You can take issue with the fact that Wall Street was allowed to skate after the 2008 crash. I can give you the S&L crisis. You can go back and see all the ways that market manipulation have affected the U.S. economy. Elon Musk, in my view, is a market manipulator, and he's been allowed to skate. Money and power, how it has destroyed the justice system and parts of the economy. And when it comes to bringing members of the economy to justice.
I was going to say, this
Mark,
is a real...
Are you on the stuff that we should be grateful for?
Yeah, exactly. This is a real advocacy for that point. I think you just negotiated that out of the consideration.
I'm just saying, I am respectful, and I feel it's a plus, the U.S. economy, but I think it has an asterisk. Okay. Taco Tuesday is one of America's great things, says Tom. See, and that you wouldn't have that without the cultures. So
exactly.
Kim, what about you? This 4th and 5th of July, is there anything that you would like to add?
For me, it's just the ideal that maybe I used to celebrate thinking, thank God I'm American and that I just happened to be born here, but now it's more. I celebrate the ideal of what I hope that we can go back to and what we can be.
Yeah.
Maybe
That's
not even go back to.
Yeah,
maybe just, be in the future, the ideal of what America should be. And that includes diversity. And that includes being able to speak your mind and our political system and everything else. So.
Yeah. Dark money from corporations because they're people too. So yes, we're grateful for the dark money and the corporate purchase of our government and our justices.
Yep.
Mark, what about all the homelessness? Says Frank. You're right. We're grateful for the homelessness too. I can't do it. Yeah. No, of course that's a huge issue in this country. Freedom of speech. Peggy, you're right. I mean, that is one of the fundamental tenets, I think, of life in America is freedom of speech, your ability to say what you want about this government and all the rest. I think around the edges, you can argue that, there's that it's a bit of a landmine, but I take your point, and I think it's a good one. Yeah, freedom of speech. There was never a perfect time in our history, says Mindy. Here in America. It is a constant work in progress. It's so true. 2 steps forward, 1 step back sometimes, but it is a work in progress. When we, Courtney, I want to thank you.
Oh, thank you for having me.
I hope you'll take in a bunch of true crime between now and your next visit on Monday.
Yeah, no, definitely. It is a big part of my extracurricular activities.
Yeah.
But I will say, at some point, maybe mention our trip to Tenuta.
Oh, we had a great trip at Tenuta Vineyard.
Gentle reminder.
We stopped in.
They were very kind.
They were so great, and we had never been there.
Yeah,
here they are
fantastic.
with a relationship with our show.
Right.
They sponsor the news at times, and they I do have the bottles behind. There is the flight. You can take a wine tasting flight there.
Or you can
Tenuta.
drink a bottle like Mark.
I like my
straw.
wine.
I'd be willing to bet my lunch that there's alcohol involved.
Yeah, there was a bit. I really enjoyed it. They were great. You know what you don't get by Rich? These are the that's the Why Are You Yelling red and the Hey, which one of you is Mark Thompson white? You don't realize, Kim, how tall Rich is, like an athlete.
Oh,
and he's this charming, tall, dude. I didn't realize that. Yeah. On the videos, you don't see it, and she is so much fun. I mean,
she's amazing.
Yeah. So anyway, go out to Tenuta or contact them. Of course, you get the 10% off if you're a viewer of the show. Just when you call them and you make your order, you get 10% off the whole order. Just say smash it.
Smash it with your iron rod.
Smash it with your iron rod. That's all you have to do for the discount. There it is. There, smash it with your iron. Get 10% off at Tenuta Winery in Livermore. TenutaWinery.com. Now, Courtney, is there anything else?
That was it. I was just going to mention that.
I'm so glad you did mention it.
But thank you for having me this morning.
I have a question before you check out, Courtney. Yeah. When you were tasting at Tenuta, was it the Why Are You Yelling Red that was your favorite, or did something pop out to you that you loved?
This is an important piece of information so that you'll know this for the future.
Well, because, you might want to order more than just the Why Are You Yelling Red. I want to know what she thought.
Sure.
Yeah. So I'm maybe not the best person for feedback because I don't drink.
That's why I say that, yes.
But Mark drinks for both of us. I do. And so he would be able to give you some fantastic suggestions.
Daddy needs his medicine.
There you go.
Daddy needs his medicine.
Yeah. And
I like both. And I even had I bought an additional case.
You did.
Well, it was a mixture of things, actually.
Okay.
But yes. The Why Are You Yelling Red it's hailed by many in the wine community as extraordinary. It's our own proprietary blend. So, Courtney, thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Monday, she will be back.
Yes. Bye, Kim. Bye, Albert.
The Mark Thompson Show.
Joe Fish, Sal the Shoemaker, Joe Box, and Little Anthony.
Their envy wonton killing. I don't know what a wonton killing is. I'm going to have to look that one up.
And I wanted to apologize to the Asian community, the Asian American community.
Avila is coming up after Kim's news, and we'll talk JFK Jr. and covering him in this media environment. Smash the like button, Mark Thompson Show.
I'm Kim McAllister on The Mark Thompson Show, and this report is sponsored by Tenuta Vineyards. Yay! Let's start with the cocaine in the White House, why don't we? The top story on the newscast, because, wow, yeah, cocaine found at the White House. That, the result of a formal lab test, the cocaine found in a common area of the West Wing on Sunday night. The Secret Service is conducting an investigation trying to figure out who brought that in. Travelers continue to see issues at the airports. People try to head home after the 4th of July holiday, but FlightAware reports there have been more than 1,700 flights delayed within, into, or out of the United States today. That's on top of more than 100 that have been canceled. Americans should expect higher credit card interest rates and to pay more to finance a home or car. This after the Federal Reserve's June policy meeting hinted at more interest rate hikes to bring down inflation. Fed Chair Jerome Powell indicating another 0.5 percentage point bump this year. It's still in play. Talks between UPS and the Teamsters Union stalled. Early Wednesday morning, the Teamsters Union said UPS walked away from the bargaining table. The union that represents 340,000 UPS workers claims the shipping company refused to give a last, best, and final offer and told the Teamsters it really just had nothing more to give. Ben & Jerry's says the United States should return stolen indigenous land on the 4th of July. The ice cream company tweeting out that message yesterday, dividing some fans. On its website, Ben & Jerry's also wrote, July 4th celebrations can distract from an essential truth about this nation's true birth. A ticket stub from the night Los Angeles Lakers superstar LeBron James made NBA scoring history could fetch thousands of dollars in auction. The $92 second row ticket to the game, during which James surpassed Kareem Abdul-Jabbar's all-time NBA scoring record, is already up for bid online. As of this morning, the highest bidder was willing to pay $2,000 just for that ticket stub.
Wow.
Oh, I'll tell you. Again, this report
I want a piece
is
of history. Yeah.
For a ticket stub, and there's so many of them out there. Meh, that's dumb, but whatever.
What?
This report is sponsored by Tenuta Winery in the beautiful Livermore Valley, and again, you heard Mark say it's so pretty out there. They've got a lot of choices. 28 varietals on the tasting room menu. They have 14 whites, they have 14 reds. You get discounts on case purchases, but here at the Mark Thompson Show, really, you just get a discount for being you, because we've got this exclusive deal with Tenuta Vineyards. You call them, you say smash it with your iron rod, you get your 10% off.
Iron rod.
That's right. Call Rich at 925-699-4576 to get your 10% off. I'm Kim McAllister, and this is the Mark Thompson Show.
I've come from regular stock.
I just want to find 11,780.
Did you really just do that? ABC knows that I feel like this. I've told them. It had nothing to do with them.
May the Spirit guide you in wisdom and grace.
How would you handle this? We could try ignoring it, sir.
Big shout out.
Great, I loved it.
Big shout out.
60% of the time, it works every time.
Big shout out. Big shout out.
Can you let him finish, sir?
Yeah, you better believe it. We are back in town and we're ready to get down. Anybody say that anymore? Get down. Back in the 70s, it was get down. Everybody was getting down. There was a song called Get Down Tonight. I'm going to get down. Everything. Albert, you're too young to recall that period, the get down period in America. But it was very powerful. And now who did the song Get Down Tonight? Casey and the Sunshine Band, right? Are you familiar with that song, Albert?
Is that Get Down On It? Is that what you're talking about?
Get Down On It. I will give you credit for Get Down On It also. Yes.
Okay, well, I am familiar with that song. Well, I'm not sure. I'm not familiar with.
But
the
you
other
don't
one.
know Get Down Tonight? Casey and the Sunshine Band. Get
I think
Down
I might
Tonight.
Be if I heard it. If I did
Get
hear
Down
it.
Tonight.
Unfortunately, we can't listen to it together on the stream because we would get
No, we
get
can't
copyright.
listen to it. Yeah, because of that. Anyway, I have a Edward R. Murrow Award winner in the green room, and I can't talk about Get Down Tonight anymore. But I want to just register that I'm back and I'm ready to get down. Is my point. All right.
The Mark Thompson Show.
Not that kind of get down. Different kind of get down. He writes an article now for a column for Barrett Media. Before that, he was the senior correspondent at ABC News, 2020, White House correspondent for years. This guy truly is a remarkable mind on journalism and media. And now his column is about media and politics. How about it for Jim Avila, everybody?
Good morning, Mark. And you probably realize that I have never gotten down in my entire career.
No, yeah. You are...
I'm old enough to have known the song, but I was also quick enough to turn it off.
How dare you? That represented a robust part of our nation's musical evolution.
Hard to believe, but I was never a disco guy. Yeah, hard to believe.
I love that disco music, and I keep hoping it'll come back.
He was high and drunk.
Well, I was in an altered state.
I actually covered Disco Demolition.
Oh, yeah, in Chicago.
I was in
right?
Chicago at the time as a reporter, and a big disc jockey there named Steve Dahl had a big event where he was going to break and destroy disco records in center field, and it became a riot. They had to postpone the game because so
I mean, it was a radio promotion stunt that became something out of control. And then, as Jim says, they were going to, I think, because was it the riot, and there was also fire, wasn't it? Where they blow them up or something?
Well, there were fireworks. Yeah, there were fireworks involved.
I see.
And I would think there was some drinking involved.
Yeah, I would imagine that there might have been some alcohol.
I'd be willing to bet my lunch that there's alcohol.
So
involved.
it's interesting. We should talk about that another time because it was mentioned as, and never in a million years thought we were going to talk about this, but it was mentioned as a problem thing. Again, it was done as a radio stunt, but I'll give you the most serious thing that was associated with it from a controversy standpoint was racism. They suggested that being anti-dance music, being anti-disco made it anti-black. That was something that was very much talked about. I'm sure that, at the time, that was in the zeitgeist of what you were reporting on.
In Chicago? Come on. Racism? The most segregated city in America? I find that hard to believe.
I like the new Jim Avila can say anything. Doesn't have to worry about the processes, protocols.
And processes and protocols and standards.
Yeah, he doesn't have to worry about any of them anymore. All right, so your latest is for Barrett Media. It's about covering RFK Jr. You talk about.
You're a fan, aren't you?
I'm not a fan. I'm troubled by how unquestioning people are as they attach their wagons to that horse. What I would distinguish myself, just because you asked my own views, I try to follow each and everything that the dude says, as opposed to, he's just a wacko, he's always saying a bunch of crazy crap. He is saying a bunch of crazy crap, but then I'm trying to find, is there anything in there that does check out? Certainly his representation of the vax and the representation of alternative therapies, which doesn't get enough ink either, is incorrect. He talks about the lack of double-blind studies. He talks about the fact that there were no double-blind studies for remdesivir or for, what's the other one? Ivermectin. But there were. Now, I also don't think that those things should be barred. I think you should have, if that's what you want, you should be able to seek that treatment. I didn't like the way that there was sort of a, anyway, I'm talking a lot, but my point is, Jim, I'm not a, I don't.
You don't dismiss him out of hand.
Exactly. I don't dismiss him out of hand. I felt really compelled to get you on today because I think, you write about what I consider is the issue in America, which is media and politics. I love that you're writing that because you are someone who's been in the belly of the beast in both, right? And so how to cover this guy who's this fire hose of stuff. He just hits you with all this stuff. You had a term for it in your column.
Yeah, it's called Gish Gallop. So that is to hit somebody with a fire hose, or I call it waterboarding of disinformation, so that the interviewer can't get a word in edgewise. And as soon as you counter one thing, he's on to the next. Like on the Joe Rogan show, he talked about the CIA being after him, and when questioned, or he has to be careful because the CIA killed his father and his uncle, he says, John Kennedy and Robert F. Kennedy Sr., and so he has to watch behind his back too. When pressed for details, he then says, I'm not an expert, and moves on to the next crazy thing. And that's the problem. Not that Joe Rogan was ever going to challenge him anyway, but others, Elizabeth Vargas on News Nation, is it? Yeah, News Nation. I always get News Nation, Newsmax mixed up. But News Nation held a town hall with him. And Elizabeth is a friend of mine, and she did a pretty good job. She was trying hard. But the problem is that they just go from one subject to another, one lie after another, and there's such a torrent of lies, you can't fact check it in real time. That's Gish galloping.
Yeah, that's interesting. It was named, I guess, for someone named Gish who did that, who blasted a bunch of that stuff out there. So, that
he was a creationist, and he would get in debates.
Right?
He was anti-evolution, and this was in the 90s. And it's kind of a surprise to me when I found the term. In researching RFK, I read a couple of articles that used that term, and they explained that this guy Gish was in the 90s, and I thought, come on, Gish galloping had to be invented during the Trump era, right? He did it. Trump did not even invent it. He just uses it. Maybe he doesn't even know what it is, but it was originally from the 90s.
Yeah, it's a very effective way of arguing and establishing. So you can, argue for your position and establish your position and do it with such like almost this Gatling gun of information and disinformation. So it's impossible to catch it all and to do something. So that is the environment that we find ourselves in, both with RFK Jr. and you mentioned Trump as well. And there are others, but I think those are sort of Pence. Is that what you said?
Yeah, Pence is. I wrote about that a couple weeks ago. Pence gets on a talking point, and in that slow, monotonous way that he speaks, just doesn't stop. He just keeps going and going and going, and it's a filibuster. I'm sorry,
right? That's almost a different style. That's that. As you say, it's he sounds like he's trying to kill the clock. He sounds like he's got a lead at the end of a basketball game, and he's trying to, not have to
wear you out.
Right, exactly. Whereas Trump and RFK Jr. really come at you hard, and RFK Jr. is very smart. He is not, he's not an idiot, and so he speaks with a credibility, with a command of the language, a command of ideas that I think help establish credibility, and that's really what it's about, right? It's a dynamic of establishing credibility and charisma. So,
he's got the Kennedy name. Yeah. How can you not?
You come into the game already. Yeah,
the nephew and son of legends in the Democratic Party. So it's almost you can't. First of all, a lot of people argue we should just ignore all these conspiracy theory people. Okay, we should not put them on television or on radio, on the internet. We should ignore them. They shouldn't be allowed on social media. And in fact, RFK was banned from social media for COVID misinformation for a long time. But when you got a name like Kennedy, how do you not, he's going to be able to get in there and talk because he's a Kennedy. And that's the first problem, is that you can't ignore him.
How do you cover him then? You, in your piece, you address, and this is interesting to me because I kind of want to take you on one of the things that you suggest, just because I think it's both logistically problematic, and I don't think you'd like it done to your candidate. But that said, tell me what your theory is on how to cover these people like RFK Jr.
Well, there are a couple theories. I think the best theory is probably not the one you disagree with, which is to do it all on tape, and then you're able to go back, and when you do it, you can either add information or you can rebut it on tape as it happens, and therefore you're not overwhelmed in a live format by this gusher of information, which is what Trump did in his town hall. The other thing that you can do, which I think is if you're forced into a live situation, is seize on their most important theme. In other words, with Robert F. Kennedy Jr. His although he doesn't want to talk about it so much on the campaign trail, but what he is known for is his anti-vax claims. So if you attack him on those claims, and you are equipped with information, you're equipped with the fact that COVID-19 vaccines killed 9 people in the United States, okay? 9 people, and for heart problems, and it was the Johnson & Johnson that did it. And it saved 200,000 lives at least, maybe millions of lives. That's the number one thing you hit him with. Then his vaccine claims began way back when. It didn't begin with COVID. He was against all vaccines. And he adopted a claim that was popular back then, and still is with him, that mercury in vaccines was poison, and it caused autism and could kill children. They shouldn't be given vaccines. Well, you should be equipped with the fact that it was not the same mercury that's in fish protein that we have a problem with. It is poison. It was a totally separate protein element and had nothing to do with that protein. And they stopped using it. So it's not even in use anymore. So my point is, you hit him with that, and then when he goes on to the next one, you say, wait a minute. Why should we believe you on this one when you were so wrong for so many years on that one, and banned from social media and science journals said you were crazy? Why should we believe you about anything? That is a tactic that I think you disagree with.
The tactic actually that I disagree with is the first one. I don't think it's possible to record something, and I mean to tape something, and then stop it on an ongoing basis as the town hall, whatever they call it, the sit down, the fireside, whatever the hell it is, down home with, stop it and then go, let's just stop for a second. Those claims that Mr. Kennedy made are provably false, blah, 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 etc. Then you go on with the sit-down town hall thing. Then you stop it again, and you go, let's stop again. What Mr. Kennedy is claiming here has not been proved, blah, 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 blah. You end up with, Jim, a refutation, which is a ding word, of everything that he has said. Perhaps, you're calling him out on all of these different misrepresentations, but you've now become an advocate in such a way that I think the audience, it's not going to sit well with an audience that's watching. It's as though, and let me put it and make a finer point on it. If I have Joe Biden on a sit down, just to pick him as a mainstream candidate, right, Democratic candidate likely, and he says, well, we supported the war in Ukraine because it was clear that Vladimir Putin was moving to both encroach upon Ukraine and use Ukraine as the footstool on which he would then spring to other countries and dominance, blah, 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 blah. Or this is a wanton act of aggression, whatever he says. How would you feel if Fox News stopped that and said, well, that's in dispute? The NATO alliance seemed to be broadening, and from Putin's perspective, blah, blah, blah. You can see how if that becomes the coin of the realm, this sort of stopping and correcting way that the media treats these things, you won't like it when your guy's in the barrel, will you? I mean, speak to that if you would.
Okay, so here's the difference. Joe Biden does not gish gallop. He's not going to go through a list of talking points and misinformation. He just doesn't do it. So you don't have to do that. Would you? But I think with Joe Biden, an effective technique is just to say, like you just did, but Mr. President, that's not really been proven yet. How do we really know? Ask a follow-up. That's all you have to do with Joe Biden. And then he will answer the follow-up and you go along. It's different when you have a Robert F. Kennedy Jr. or a Donald Trump. They don't allow you to refute it. He'll do that. Trump will do that, excuse me, and interrupt you, and he'll go on and continue to over talk you. Biden doesn't do that. And so you have to watch which candidates you're talking about. Also, the other effective way to do this is through Chiron, through supers at the bottom, the words at the bottom. You can do it that way. You can just put up a simple disclaimer which says, when they're making this, you don't have to go into all of it. You just say that is a disputed claim, and in fact, RFK has been shown to be wrong about this by every scientist in America, except for fringe ones. And then you move on. You can do it with Chiron. On radio, it's more difficult. You have to stop, as you say, and you have to refute them point by point. So, is it going to be uncomfortable in some ways to listen to? Maybe, but it's the price I think you have to pay to put these people on. You can't just let them gish all the way through. You can't let them do it. That is just not journalism. That's holding a microphone. That's a mic stand.
There's an unholy alliance between RFK Jr. and Steve Bannon, and some of those who are in Steve Bannon's camp. And in my judgment, Steve Bannon may be one of the most dangerous people in modern American history.
We'll get an argument here.
And RFK Jr. and Steve Bannon being allied in any way, they're both. I mean, if you view the deep state as a threat, if you view these sort of institutional aspects of government as a threat and as a problem, and I know that they're not without problem, but and the deep state is total BS. I mean, the deep state. I grew up in Washington, D.C. I would have met somebody who is part of the deep state. I mean, I knew a lot of people. But that's the point. There isn't a deep state, guys. It's right out there in front of you. You can see the game is on. There's no sleight of hand. Everybody's bought and paid for. They don't need a deep state. They're playing you right in front. But anyway, to the point, Bannon and people like him want to see RFK Jr. succeed, not because necessarily they're big RFK Jr. fans, but because it opens the door, obviously, for a Republican candidate to stroll in. He will be so carved up, will Joe Biden or whomever, that it'll be an issue to actually win the election. Isn't that what's happening as well?
Yeah, he's a nuisance candidate, is what I call him in the column. I think he is there to annoy Democrats, to own the libs. He is propped up by Republican money and money from Silicon Valley as well. Some reason these tech heads think that Robert F. Kennedy is going to help them. And I didn't really get to the bottom of that, and I'll have to investigate why that is. I don't know why. But the money comes from those folks. And it is just to kind of throw a wrench into the Democratic issues. But it's not really going to work because it's just in the primaries. And in the primaries, he's going to he gets 15% in the polls, and most of that 15% are Republicans answering that they would support him, and it's not Democrats who are going to support him. So he's not really a factor, but his only factor is to get out there and he's the Chris Christie without facts of the Democratic Party. He's going to be out there and just kind of annoy people, and he is doing that. If Biden wants,
go ahead.
Yeah. No, I'm just saying if Biden stays in the race, which I've said in this program before, I hope he does not. He will be the nominee. Unless he has a stroke, he's going to be the nominee. I don't think there's any problem, any chance, any other Democrat. I mean, the only other Democrat who has been campaigning and has already said he won't try this term is Gavin Newsom, he would have a shot, but you're not going to unseat an incumbent president. You're not, and an incumbent president who has a good record. He's doing a good job.
Yeah, but it's all
only
perception.
Fear is his age.
I really like your column for that reason as well. Media and politics. It's how media messages, right? Media defines the framework. That's why media was powerful in building the image and profile of Donald Trump. They created this notion that he was a successful billionaire, even though he was a wildly unsuccessful businessman.
7 bankruptcies.
Yeah, fraud. His charities were a fraud. Everything he touched was a fraud. But the image of Donald Trump, which is all that the cultists needed to hang on to, was associated with his success, and the media gave him so much play. So I think the media is very much responsible for building up Donald Trump and giving us Donald Trump. And that's why I love that you write a column about the media, because I feel as though there are a lot of factors and forces along the lines of what we just saw with Trump in 2016 that still exist today. The media is challenged by a lot of and now, Jim, I have to say, alternative media reaches a lot of people. I mean, Joe Rogan reaches 11 million people. Russell Brand, the All In podcast. That's what you're talking about. The Tech Bros, where they sit down and they can't kiss RFK Jr.'s butt enough. And one of them, David Sachs, who's one of the founders of PayPal, had a fundraiser for RFK Jr. He's big on the RFK Jr. Now, again, you may listen to these conversations and go, well, there's some stuff that RFK Jr. says that I agree with, but it's super dangerous, the idea somehow that he would dismantle the levers of government.
His main plank is that he's going to dissolve the FDA and other agencies, which look, nobody's perfect, and I'm not defending the the FBI spied on Martin Luther King, broke into Daniel Ellsberg's psychiatrist's office with help from other people. I mean, they have done terrible things. J. Edgar Hoover was an awful man, but you have to take those case by case, not with a broad brush and say we ought to eliminate the FBI. We can't. I don't think you can do that. And the Department of Justice, the Biden administration, I'm going to say, has bent over backwards not to influence anything in the Hunter Biden investigation, anything in the Donald Trump investigation. They have handled it exactly how you expect a president to handle it. While RFK wants to eliminate all these things, he's Trump on fire, is what he is, as far as those agency things. It's terrible.
And here's the way that stuff resonates, and then I'll let you go. It resonates because people know that the FDA and the FAA and I'd suggest even the SEC, many of these government agencies are victims of regulatory capture, right? Where the things they are regulating are so powerful, so wealthy, that they overtake the agency's ability to really regulate them, restrain them in any way. So you've seen this in those agencies I mentioned, Wall Street and pharmaceutical companies. The
FAA didn't stop Boeing from making that plane that was crashing. Okay, the USDA. Most people don't know that, but that stamp on your meat that says USDA inspected, it's not inspected by USDA. It's inspected by the people who own the meat plants. And then the USDA comes in and looks at their records and says, okay, you're doing the inspections fine. They don't actually look at the meat. So, there are problems. I covered the agencies for ABC for 4 years. I know that they have problems. I reported on those problems. But you can't eliminate them. You can try to reform them and get, better people in there. And you can change the regulations. You should not be having these incredibly rich companies inspecting themselves. And of course, we both know that the main problem with politics and the main problem with there's two problems in America. That if we fix them, we would be better off. Number one, the problem is the money in politics, the fact that that lobbyists control everything and they stop all good legislation. Lobbyists, they need to be regulated more than they are. Secondly, is income inequality, which is the root cause of all this crime we're having, the homelessness we're having. That really is a problem for America. So those are the two problems. We fix those. I think everything else falls in line.
You can find him here on Fridays. We'll usually pick up another day with Jim Avila because we like to talk about his column. The latest is interesting. It's how to cover RFK Jr. You can find it at Barrett Media, but you can also just follow Jim Avila on Twitter for the moment. You going to stay on Twitter, Jim, or are you going to you're going to begin to migrate onto
Well,
another platform.
look, if somebody finds a good other platform, I'm gone. I'm going to be happy to. But right now, there isn't one. Maybe this thing with Facebook, what is it called, with Meta, is going to be
they
something.
seem serious about it. Yeah, I signed
if
up.
If it works, I'll work it. Did you?
Yeah, just to be on it. But anyway, he's on Twitter now, Jim Avila, ABC. We'll talk to you Friday. And now on Friday, I'd like to talk about the Supreme Court and how essentially the Supreme Court has so seized power that now we're a country completely run by this Supreme Court and the courts in general. Jim Avila, everybody, come on. Thanks, Jim. Yeah.
See
talk
you
to
later.
you soon.
The Mark Thompson Show.
It was great. I loved it.
How would you handle this? We could try ignoring it, sir.
Morning.
You cannot say you love your country.
Where are my weed smokers at?
Stay at home and get baked.
Yeah, I know we're a little behind, Albert, but we are not ruled by the clock the way we used to be over on the radio, on KGO radio. We are not, are we, Albert?
We're not. So I was thinking we could get to some news. I did look up that Casey and the Sunshine Band song. I do know the song. Very iconic song.
Yeah, exactly.
Albert, thank you.
But yes, we could get to the news. We're in no rush today.
Maybe you could find all of the songs, maybe a collection of them after Kim's news, that use the Get Down lyric that I was mentioning. Maybe you could find a list of them, Albert. A lot of producers might do that. Where you go, what, I'm actually going to go on the net. I'm going to put down my Cinnabon, and I'm going to go look to see about Get Down Tonight, Get Down on It, and you know what I mean? Does that sound like something you could do?
The Cinnabon's hard to put down, but yeah, I'll have to fight through that.
Albert, thank you.
The Cinnabon is hard to put down. All right. Kim, are you ready?
I'm ready.
All right. Smash the like button like a boss, if you would. And here's Kim's news.
On the Mark Thompson Show, I'm Kim McAllister. Let's start with the United States of guns. 10 people are dead, nearly 40 hurt after 3 mass shootings in the United States over the 4th of July holiday. The shootings happened in Fort Worth, in Philadelphia, and Baltimore earlier this week. President Biden is now once again calling on lawmakers to tighten America's gun laws. Pope Francis says he's disgusted by the burning of a Quran outside of a mosque in Sweden. This is some video of the protests and the burning here. The Pope is condemning Swedish courts who said earlier that police efforts to block this demonstration last week were an infringement on freedom of speech. Pope Francis said freedom of speech should never be used as a means to despise others. And Mark, you were just mentioning this. Here's the logo for Thread, is what it's called.
Oh, yeah. That's
Meta
right.
is set to launch its Twitter competitor called Threads with an S, Threads, tomorrow. So the release of Threads comes just days after Twitter owner Elon Musk announced new limits on how many posts users can see on Twitter. Social media veterans believe the planned app will be a formidable competitor for Twitter, which has faced falling revenue and other challenges since Musk took over the company in October. Will people switch from Twitter to Threads? We'll see. Police in South Carolina say a 69-year-old woman was killed by an alligator while walking her dog on Hilton Head. Here's a sign from that neighborhood. Alligators are common in this area. They can be dangerous and should not be approached, frightened, or fed. Give them the respect they deserve and keep your distance.
Right now, it's mating season, and they're hungry.
Oh, that's right. That does make it tougher.
This lady was walking her dog through this private neighborhood called Spanish Wells, and her body ended up being found at the edge of a lagoon near a golf course. They had to remove the alligator before recovering the body. So yeah, this 69-year-old lady just out for a dog walk, and whammo.
Wow, whammo is, yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
ugly.
We showed a video last week, I think it was during Friday Fabulous Florida, where this alligator lunged out of a lagoon and ran up a bank toward this fisherman, and it looked like there was plenty of space, but they move fast. You got to be able to get
Oh,
away
yeah.
from them. If your head is turned, if this woman's head was turned and this gator came out of the lagoon, that's all it took.
Wow.
Let's check out Toyota because they have now, they're saying, made a huge breakthrough in battery tech for electric vehicles. Toyota says it has found a way it believes can give a car a range of 745 miles on just a 10-minute charge.
What?
What?
745 miles on a 10-minute charge. It's all still in development. It's not in a car yet.
This is their new hoax.
They're working on it. I don't think they'd come out with this story, though, unless they believe it's true. I don't know.
Well,
but
there's never been anything like this.
There hasn't. I mean, 700 is
on a 10-minute charge.
On a 10-minute charge. Wow.
Yeah. And I don't know if it's a 10-minute supercharge or just a 10-minute,
Well, it's pretty super if it gets you to 700 miles.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know what that means. Super
745 miles. Take all the miles you can get.
Yeah, well, now let me just, but it's an odd thing. So they've made this announcement, Toyota has, ahead of any kind of release of the technology or even timeline for release of the technology.
They called it a breakthrough in battery tech.
Okay, well, I mean, until you come out with a demo or some other way that we can evaluate it, it seems to me like it's just a press release waiting for a reality, right?
It's fantastic.
Okay, well, I'm getting everybody.
There's never
all
been anything like this.
Right, exactly.
How would you handle this? We could try ignoring it, sir.
Thank you. I think you do ignore it, actually, until more is
I don't
known.
know.
But it is worth looking forward to.
That's some pretty big claims. I think you put out the claim and see if they can back it up.
Yeah, well, I mean...
That's not fake. That's real.
Well, that's my point. I don't know whether it's fake or real, Dr. Fauci.
Adam Schiff, let's get to him. He is raking in a record fundraising haul after he was censured by House Republicans last month. Why is it that the legal issues bring in the money? Congressman Adam Schiff raising $8.1 million for his Senate campaign in the second quarter of the year. He was censured by the Republican-led House over his past comments, criticizing former President Trump's alleged ties with Russia. The California Democrat, who led the first impeachment effort against Trump, called the censure a badge of honor, as Schiff is currently running for the Senate seat to be vacated by retiring Senator Dianne Feinstein.
Oh, wow. Isn't it interesting how an embattled politician oftentimes can raise money off of that heat? Yeah.
Censure me. Bring in the cash. There you go. I think I've been censured on the Mark Thompson Show.
No.
What's that you say? Another
you are
super
uncensorable. You can say whatever you want, and apparently nothing happens to you. People just think you're so charming and great. They scrutinize my every word.
Close the marky mouth.
Exactly. You got it.
They do this to me all the time. I don't know what the hell they do it for.
Casey gets it.
Well,
yeah, well, I don't know.
Right. Fireworks. I don't think this man was shooting this. I don't think he was shooting this type of fireworks off, but a man lost part of his hand, allegedly, lighting illegal fireworks. Witnesses in the South Los Angeles neighborhood said they saw this man lighting mortar tubes in the street. They say and this is a Darwin Award story. They say they thought one of those mortars blew off his arm. When first responders arrived, they found the man covering what was left of his right hand with a towel. About an hour earlier, firefighters were called to the same neighborhood to put out a roof fire, which was likely caused by fireworks. According to the LA Fire Department, more calls came in last night than during an entire typical week.
Wow. Yeah, I don't know. That's we've called on illegal fireworks before because we're so surrounded by them.
Yeah.
You can't even, it's a total waste of time. You get a recording. So, I mean, the best way to handle it is let your neighbor blow his arm off with it, with an illegal.
Telling you. I mean,
who are these guys?
Okay,
this
so
looks
this is
like
the
Lake Tahoe.
next story. I put it in there just in your honor.
Thank you.
The beach cleaning robots. In case you left any trash behind on the beach, I know you wouldn't do that. Yeah, I know you're not that kind of person.
Yeah.
But they're using these beach cleaning robots. They're helping volunteers picking up trash along Lake Tahoe's shoreline after the 4th of July celebrations this year. The robots used during today's 10th annual post-July 4th cleanup organized by the League to Save Lake Tahoe, will sift through the sand in search of cigarette butts and pieces of plastic and other litter. Last year, this group collected nearly 3,500 pounds of trash during the July 5th cleanup. I don't know if they were using the beach cleaning robots last year, but yeah, this year they got the robots to help, churn through the sand and get all that trash out. So that's pretty cool.
That is pretty cool. I don't think we did not need to be Mark and Courtney. We are, what do they call that, Albert? Zero impact, or in the Boy Scouts or whatever they call it. Maybe Kim, low impact or
low impact travelers.
You leave the space the way you found it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Take only pictures, leave only footprints, right?
Oh, I love that.
Yeah. Isn't that nice?
I think that was perfect.
What?
Okay.
So this story, lastly, involves a Disney auction, and look at all the stuff that is being auctioned off. This is going to be
actual rides and uniforms and posters. That's from the Haunted Mansion.
That's from the Haunted Mansion.
That's literally from the Haunted Mansion. Yeah.
Right. This is Disney memorabilia, rare Disney collectibles going to auction. A collector parting with 1,500 items, including rare posters, costumes,
from Dumbo. That's the ride. Yes,
life-size vehicles from rides like Dumbo and Peter Pan. Some of these items could fetch up to $300,000. The auction will be held July 17th through the 19th in Burbank. So, I mean, it's crazy when you think of all the stuff this man has managed to collect over the years, and all of it
it's from one collector.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And by the way, Courtney and I have been there. We checked it out. I was actually going to shoot something for the show, but I don't know that I could have shot anything better than what you just saw. But it really is extraordinary. I mean, there are signs that say, wait time for this ride, 10 minutes or whatever.
Yeah.
There's literally all this stuff from the theme park and maps and all this other kind of Disney memorabilia. It's
the cool
crazy
stuff. I mean, you have a Dumbo ride. You have, birds from the Tiki Room. You've got
and they work. They're
animatrons from the haunted house.
And
How
the
did you even
animatrons
get
work.
this? Yeah. It's really cool.
You need not only the desire to have that in your house, but you need enough room in your wherever you are, wherever you're going to put it, your house, your other house, your back, garage that you're turning into a Disney ride, whatever. But you need space, but it's pretty exceptional, and the stuff's in great shape.
I mean, they say some of it could go for up to $300,000, so that's an awful lot. You'd have to be a real Disney lover with deep pockets to go for that, but you can, even if you don't, and you just kind of like Disneyland and you don't have the deep pockets, you can look at all this stuff and appreciate how cool that would be, right?
Yeah, and I will just say this, Southern California listeners and viewers, it is open to the public. It's right there in the old Bed Bath & Beyond space in Burbank. Did they give you the address? I don't know what the address is, but it's you can find it.
They didn't give me an address. They just said it was in Burbank.
It's Googleable, this Disney memorabilia thing, and you should go. It's a trip.
Are you going to go put a bid in?
We're gonna go again, and we're not particularly Disney people, but it is a trip, man. It's unreal. I mean, so much there. I think anybody with even a passing interest should check it out. So again, but it's in Southern California. It's in Burbank.
I mean, if you bought the haunted house animatrons and then put them on your lawn in your front yard for Halloween, you would be the talk of the neighborhood. I mean, they would get ripped off probably, but still, you'd be the talk of the neighborhood.
You only paid $200,000 for them. Don't worry
about it. Happy Halloween to you.
Here the exhibition is at the Burbank Town Center Mall.
Albert, thank you.
Yeah.
Albert, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Albert.
Burbank Town Center Mall. Very well done, Albert.
The news. I'm Kim McAllister on the Mark Thompson Show.
Mm-hmm. Well done.
They had to close down an entire radio station to silence him. And now, he's here. Ladies and gentlemen, Mark Thompson.
So he's had his chance. He obviously does not have the qualities necessary to unite the party, which is the first step on the road back. And he should stand aside.
If Donald Trump were the nominee for the Republican Party again, would you support him? Could you vote against him? Could you vote not for the Republican if Donald Trump were the Republican nominee?
Well, again, I think it gets down to what I said, which is I would have to make the judgment at that point. I'll have to see what's going on in the world, who the Democratic nominee is. If it's a progressive, I can't imagine voting for
But ideologically progressive versus somebody who orchestrated an attack on the Capitol, who betrayed his oath to the Constitution, as you said in your words, you still might vote for him.
It's hard for me to project what the future holds.
The Mark Thompson Show.
What up, everybody? We are back after the big 4th of July weekend. Man, so great again of Kim to cover. It was really a cool few shows. I watched a bunch of them. And thank you again, Kim. Yeah. I do have kind of an important announcement involving the show. And I've put it off until now. And I don't know if I should make the announcement now. Albert, would you make the announcement now, or would you, I ask you, should I wait on it, or should I do it?
Should we do like an American Idol like cliffhanger going into commercial, or should we? Do it
okay,
now?
that's an idea. Like I'll have the.
I guess we're making a bigger deal than it is.
I'll make it is. I do want to say this. It is a major announcement. It is not, the show's not going away or anything. So, I mean, we're committed to this, and as long as we get support from the audience, we'll get these shows on for you. And you know how committed we are. But there is a major change coming to the show, and I do want to.
I guess that merits for a major announcement too.
Do you want me to? I mean, it will be a major announcement when we actually do it. But do you want to do it now, or do you want to?
Yeah, let's do it.
Wait. Okay. It doesn't mean we need to do it now. I'm just saying it would merit it. So you're saying now we should do it?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Well, yeah. There's a Kim vote. So.
Yeah. Kim with the yeah. Oh, what are you saying? Chit.
It's like a CH sound.
Oh, it's just ch. I see. Okay, yeah. Okay, that's cool. All right, then I will make the major announcement. Oh, Nikki already spilled the beans, Lori says. Oh, all right. Damn that Nikki. She always gets me. Batman, how does he do it? He always defeats me. Well, I didn't know this. Open a radio station, says John. So it maybe isn't this big a deal. Albert, it's still a major announcement, though, don't you think? Yeah. I can't be affected, so, Lori, by the fact that Nikki spilled the beans.
I mean, there's a select few, or it's not our entire audience that heard it yet. So I see some people here speculating and kind of worried about what's happening.
Oh, hurry up. Okay, good. There's still some people So here's what's going to happen. It's not going to change the show one bit. Nothing on the show is going to be different. But the show is going to start an hour later.
What?
The show will start at 11 in the morning on the West Coast and 2 o'clock in the afternoon on the East Coast. And then you can do the adjustments for Hawaii and for Central and Mountain. Nikki's show is going to go early. She wants to go 9 to 11. So she'll go 9 to 11. These are Pacific times. I'll come on at 11, and I'll go 11 to 1 Pacific time. So what we're going to try to do also is take everybody who's a regular contributor and shows up at a regular time in hour 1 and keep them in hour 1. People who regularly show up in hour 2, we're going to try to keep them in hour 2. So we have to talk to our contributors and work that all out, but that will happen. Now, the date for the switchover right now is, I believe, August 1st. Mm-hmm. That might change, but right now it's August 1st. What did Nikki say?
Just what you said.
Okay. So that is our major announcement. And I understood there would be no math, Ron said. That's very funny. So we're not just exchanging times because her show goes on at noon. So it's not quite that, the Lady Beatrice, but it is, there is a swap going on. But that's the deal. Nick, you'll be on 9 to 11. I'll be on 11 to 1. And life is going to be grand. Otherwise, nothing will change. I'll remind you of this in many different ways as the time grows nearer to that change. So that's that.
Do you feel it? It's the Mark Thompson Show.
Who's Mark Thompson?
Yeah, well, that was quick. All right, let me, that was quick and unexpected. Let me get to this, a few stories that are affecting California and might be of interest. Oh, there it is, time change, Nikki 9A to 11A. Oh, that's cool, good, there you go. We'll fill that out, but that is the essence of it. It all begins at the beginning of August. As the California fire season has begun, and of course it wasn't helped by the fireworks, which did produce a bunch of different fires, both before the actual 4th of July, then on the 4th of July, and now I'm sure after the 4th of July. There is a controversy brewing over the commercial fire retardant. You know that Phos-Check stuff?
No, what's that? Like the
it's
foam?
the neon pink goo that they spray over the,
that they say is toxic for lakes and wildlife and stuff.
Yeah, it's got ammonium phosphate in it, and that's designed to coat vegetation and other fuels to deprive advancing flames of oxygen, right? So fire authorities have used them for a long time, these various products, and they say that that's an indispensable part of fighting fires. But it is true that there are risks associated with this fire retardant can harm plants, harm fish, wildlife, and when I say harm, even kill. The Chinook salmon, the steelhead trout, they can be adversely affected by this, and there's this other weird aspect to it, which is that it can act as a fertilizer that grows more vegetation, which can later act as fuel for the fires, and that is irony. Fire retardant has more adverse effects on endangered species than any other thing the federal government does.
Oh, no.
And there's not even a close second, said Andy Stahl. He's the executive director of the Forest Service Employees for Environmental Ethics. That group has sued the U.S. Forest Service over its use of aerial retardants like that. Now the manufacturer is marketing a new colorless retardant that is intended to be sprayed on private lawns, roadsides, and institutional landscapes in advance of fire season. But that product has what? Many of the same ingredients as the aerial spray.
Okay, so we have to, it's one of these, which is worse, right? Devastation by wildfire or toxic chemicals. So what do you want more, I guess?
Yeah.
Save everything, or, save it, but have it kind of toasted by the stuff. I don't know. What do you do?
It is true. It's an effective thing, an effective instrument and weapon used to fight these fires. But man, the idea that it's creating these issues. When it comes to preventing spraying along roadsides, a former wildland firefighter named Timothy Inglesby, he's the executive director of the nonprofit Firefighters United for Safety, Ethics, and Ecology. It's a different group. He argues that resources would be better spent hardening homes and communities and conducting controlled burns, which are, quote, more effective and actually less damaging than chemical warfare. Inglesby, chemical warfare is what he's calling this Phos-Check. Inglesby has long been critical of how fire authorities use airdropped retardant in wilderness areas, saying the material is overused and frequently deployed in areas where its effectiveness is limited. The new product, which is suggested, goes on lawns and everything, it's essentially a residential commercial product being sold to the retail public. Okay. He says that new product will only help the manufacturer earn more profits. He calls the use of both materials a government boondoggle. It is true that a lot of ignitions do start along roads, but how many roads do we have? He said the product's fertilizer qualities also make it particularly bad. This is a real problem. And again, there has been debate as to the environmental effects, but there's also been what? Court cases. They go to court to sue over damage. A Montana judge ruled partly in favor of this group that I just mentioned, the group represented by those firefighters, on charges that the Forest Service was violating the Clean Water Act with its use of aerial retardant. You know, right? It gets into the water. The Clean Water Act prohibits the discharge of pollutants into U.S. waters without a permit. The U.S. judge agreed that dumping the chemical retardant from planes is a violation of the nation's clean water law. So you see that there are several ways in which this might be an issue. And then the Forest Service, they say they need it. And if they don't have this product, that there are going to be a bunch of impacts that are going to be a problem, right? Water cools the fire, but it evaporates so quickly that it doesn't give ground crews enough time to build containment lines to stop the fires that they're fighting. Retardant, they say, costs the vegetation, retardant coats the vegetation and slows the spread of fire. Thank you. Allowing crews more time to move in. So this retardant is adored by those fighting the fire. But many environmentalists and many firefighters, remember, these suits are being brought by firefighters, by people who've been on the front lines. They feel this Phos-Chek is a real issue.
Brett Burkhart was covering a fire in Contra Costa County at one point. This is several years ago. And he was outside the news car standing covering this fire. And he got hit with a big load of that pink retardant. It coated the news car, coated him. Yeah.
Well, the good news is he likely would not, go up in flames. The bad news is that, that stuff's hard to get out, right. I think. Yeah. That's no fun. But that debate goes on. So I do have, I don't know if it's a breaking story, but it's a story that I find, in its own way, it's compelling. And so let me share it with you now.
The Mark Thompson Show.
Doctors have issued a warning after a man has attempted to enlarge his manhood.
What?
By sticking it in, anybody? In an ant nest, everyone.
Oh, God.
Yes. It's old school. I'd call him an old schooler. He forced...
It's a wild idea, but just might work.
What does he think of? No pain, no gain here, or what?
A man forced his genitals into a red ant's nest before collapsing in agony, prompting a doctor to issue an urgent warning amid concerns that others may attempt the eye-watering penis enlargement trick.
Did you really just do that?
Unable to bear the stinging, he washed the insects off with water, only to repeat the procedure and collapse in pain the second attempt.
That's not fake. That's
what? He did it again? Oh. How small must it have been? How desperate must he have been?
The do-it-yourself hack resulted in an appalling injury, which left him with swollen blisters. Although the end result did result in a slightly enlarged member as a result of the swelling, everybody. That's, it's nice. Let's not overlook the facts once again.
But what do you want to do with it now that it's all swollen and inflamed? I don't think you want to put it anywhere, right? You'd put ice on it to make the swelling go down. Is that not what happens, or am I wrong?
Well, I think that that might be one of the treatments. I'm sure there are also several creams and salves that you can apply to the area as well. The act shown in the videos, not correct and ineffective, say doctors. To treat erectile dysfunction, it's important to assess the underlying causes. and abnormalities in blood vessels, the neural system, hormones, or mental health, he says.
That's not fake. That's real.
The ant bite penis enlargement technique, though, which they should get a maybe better name for it than ant bite penis enlargement technique. But it could potentially cause infections or trigger severe allergies that may lead to death.
Oh.
Yeah. Other unfortunates in Southeast Asia have previously dabbled in these various penis enhancements, but there have been no positive results. In fact, most have been disastrous.
There's never been anything like this.
Yeah. Don't mess with your PP would be maybe what I would tell the younger boys and girls. Yeah. Enjoy it, but let's not mess with it. All right.
Wow.
Kim's news, and then I will round out the show with, I have a bizarre dark story. I have a bizarre story. I have a mystery. A little more about the Twitter killer that was Zuckerberg's Twitter killer that Kim touched on. But most of all, let me just say, I have a heist and I have a nightmare that we all, I think, share. Will I get to all of that? I hope so. Smash the like button like a boss. Kim's news next.
Hey, which one do you use, Mark Thompson?
Who's Mark Thompson?
The Mark Thompson Show.
I'm Kim McAllister on The Mark Thompson Show. This powdered substance found at the White House is confirmed to be cocaine. It was discovered Sunday in a cubbyhole at the West Wing entry where visitors place their electronics and other belongings before taking tours. Well, apparently somebody put a dime bag of cocaine in the cubbyhole. Well, Secret Service found it. And this dime-sized bag found Sunday night in this common area of the West Wing, and the Secret Service is now doing an investigation, looking at videotapes, trying to figure out who the bozo was that did that.
God, that's wild.
The 4th of July has passed, but travel issues have not. FlightAware reporting more than 1,200 flights delayed today, more than 100 canceled. Severe weather impacting flights in the last few days. The Federal Trade Commission and Food and Drug Administration reprimanding half a dozen companies for the way they're packaging edible THC products. The government agencies claim the companies are marketing the products containing the psychoactive substance to look identical to regular snack products. The FTC is demanding these companies stop marketing THC products using the packaging, and they have 15 days now to respond. It can be pretty dangerous when you think you're just eating regular brownie bites, cool, but you're eating something else, right? A brain injury previously found only in male athletes has now been found in a female athlete for the first time. Researchers and doctors discovered that Australian rules football player Heather Anderson had early stage CTE caused by head trauma. She died by suicide last year. 4th of July in the East Bay is a big one. Fire departments across Contra Costa County, very busy. They responded to 58 fires over the course of the night and into the early morning hours. The Contra Costa County Fire Protection District says 50 of those fires were likely caused by fireworks. One person also sustained serious injuries while using fireworks. The Contra Costa County Fire had extra staff on for the holidays as it expected all this. Investigators piecing together a deadly plane crash in Southern California. One person was killed yesterday after the pilot struck the side of a building and went down near a Riverside County airport. No one on the ground was hurt. 3 others were taken to hospitals with injuries ranging from minor to serious. The FAA says that single-engine Cessna had just taken off. No word as to what exactly went wrong there. Speaking of the tankers used to fight fires, Mark, The state is adding 24 new planes to help battle wildfires this summer. One of them comes from across the pond in Australia, where the Australian tanker is currently on loan in Sacramento. It can hold 4,000 gallons of water, making a significant impact on flames within the first hours. It's already been used several times, including for a fire in Calaveras County. Now fully contained, that flight crew will be in California for 3 months before they head back to Australia. And I will say that it looks like they're water droppers and not water flame retardant droppers. So maybe there's a difference there. I don't know if they can be used for both or what happens. This is a story, a tech story, and it's interesting. What could be a test for tech companies? Italy is giving a new tax a test run. The so-called meta tax is based on the idea that Facebook and Instagram users sign up for free accounts, but they give their valuable data in exchange. So Italy considers that a taxable transaction that could lead to a $925 million tax bill for Meta. And if that catches on, Google does the same thing, right? And we get free Gmail, but it's because they have all of our information. So is that taxable? Did they take that information and make money off of it with ads? Well, of course. And is all that taxable? So we'll see
that's
how
interesting.
Yeah. Here in the North Bay, everyone's keeping an eye out for a National Guard Humvee because one was stolen Monday night in Santa Rosa. The CHP says that the thief scaled a fence at the armory and drove off in the green military truck, smashing through the gates. That Humvee has been spotted in 3 areas of Sonoma County over the last 24 hours. The last place was on a road near Forestville. It's hard to believe they can't find that Humvee. Like, it's got to be military looking, right? It's got to stand out.
I can't understand how that. Wow, I would have thought that's like the lowest percentage success rate that you steal a military vehicle, and yet apparently they've been at it for a while, right? I mean,
it's taken Monday night, and it's now Wednesday, and the Humvee is missing. I checked.
It's a wild idea, but it just might work.
What's going on? Lastly, the mayor of Sausalito jumped into the bay this morning. Mayor Melissa Blaustein swimming from Angel Island to Sausalito, about 2 miles. It's to help raise $50,000 to repair an iconic sea lion sculpture damaged by winter storms. The goal to have this sculpture reinstalled by the end of the summer. Blaustein is an experienced swimmer and has taken swims across the bay before, but this route will be her very first time from Angel Island to Sausalito. Wow. I'm Kim McAllister, and this is The Mark Thompson Show.
Wow.
They had to close down an entire radio station to silence him. And now, he's here. Ladies and gentlemen, Mark Thompson. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm Shallow Stevens. This is The Mark Thompson Show. Keep it to yourself.
Who's Mark Thompson?
I was fortunate. Everyone I worked with made me better at my job.
Calling me a liar? Is that what you calling me?
Thank you. Thank you so much. Seriously, what the It's all there, black and white, clear as crystal.
Can you let him finish, sir?
Good day, sir.
Morning.
I just want to find 11,780. I only need 11,780.
You know, they do this to me all the time. I don't know what the hell they do it for.
Casey gets it. I feel like Casey really got it. That Casey Kasem. He really understood it, you know. Welcome to the show, everyone. We are wrapping up here in a few minutes, but not before we do some very important business. By the way, smash the like button like a boss, if you would, please. It's how we stay on the air on YouTube. I don't understand it either, but thank you for hitting the thumbs up. It costs you nothing. More on how you can support the show in the minutes to come. But first, I have a nightmare, and I think many of you might have the same nightmare. I'm not talking about the political nightmares that we've seen to come to pass in America. I'm not talking about, for a moment, step back from that kind of news and more to something that was to have been so much fun and how it turns scary and ugly. This is a roller coaster ride that gets stuck. And so roller coaster riders are stuck upside down for hours after there was a mechanical failure at this Wisconsin festival, the Forest County Festival in Crandon. It shut down mid-ride, leaving riders hanging for at least 3 hours. Albert, let's go ahead. Sorry, you've got the...
Look at this. Riders on this roller coaster got quite the thrill ride, getting stuck upside down. Roller
That's
coaster
not
at
quite
the
the thrill
Forest
ride.
County Festival in Crandon, Wisconsin, shut down mid-ride and left passengers stuck for at least 3 hours.
There was a mechanical failure with the ride where it became stuck up in the upright position. The ride was recently inspected by the state of Wisconsin here on site.
Oh. Every passenger was rescued safely and taken to the hospital.
3 hours.
It's a long time to be up there. Oof.
Well, I mean, you're up there and you're upside down, okay? Your blood is rushing to your head. I mean, it's collecting at your head after that. Go ahead, Kim.
What the hell is going on in the United States of America?
Ron gets it. Ron gets it. It's crazy.
How long can you stay upside down before, you start to have medical issues, I wonder?
Yeah, I mean, they're lucky that there weren't any, at least that we know of, serious, nothing serious resulted from all of that.
You think there's any compensation
scary.
for that, like a lifetime for free going to that fair or something? It'd just be like a night. Like, sure, that's nice, but like I have terrible memories.
It's a wild idea, but it just might work.
Look, I know you suffered what are likely pre-stroke symptoms as a result of the blood flushing your brain for 3 hours. What we've decided to do is we're giving you vouchers to all the rides and all the food booths for life.
That's not fake. That's real.
Yeah. You're welcome, is all we have to say. You're welcome. Yeah. Meantime, on the other side of town, there's a heist. I love a good heist. These are high-end heisters, too. They broke in to a high-end wine store, okay, and they took $700,000 worth of rare wine. Wines from France and Italy. Lincoln Fine Wines in Venice, California. That's in Southern California. There's footage of these guys breaking in. It shows the thieves cutting a hole in the ceiling to get to the wines. More than 600 blue chip bottles were stolen, some costing upward of $5,000. Here it is. Albert's got it on the screen for you now.
That's, 600 bottles, lifting them up through the roof. That had to take a while.
Yeah.
You gotta love the roof move, though. That's very old school. That's
it's
like
a
straight out
very
of a
strong
movie.
heist move, the roof move. Albert's right. And then they go in and they seem to know what they are getting.
Yeah.
It's
an inside job, Mark.
Yeah,
it's an inside job.
No, that could be. They cleaned us out, said the owner. They took everything. We don't have anything left in the Burgundy and Bordeaux side.
You get nothing.
The break-in began just after midnight. The unidentified burglars seen hiding behind a mask and wearing a dark anti-social social club hoodie while moving a case of wine through the store and carrying it. The thief remained in the store until nearly 4 a.m. So they were comfy that there was nobody coming, The owner said, I'm shocked, because you don't expect these things, he said. Blue chip bottles are wines that are considered stable investments, according to experts. These wines have values that are expected to climb over time. Many have French Burgundy that they got 16 or 17 years ago that are worth thousands and thousands of dollars, and now they are gone. The store's owner's offering a $10,000 reward for information leading to the capture of the culprits. The big wine caper is on.
That's got to be tough to sell in a public market. You got to go black market with that, right, Mark? Because you could easily just reverse track where you're selling it from.
Again, it's like what do you do with the rare art that you've stolen? You know, how do you move it, right? I've got some Trump news I was going to share with you. I don't know if I have my. Do we have Chunk of Trump anymore, Albert? I have Chunk of Trump and Bowling with Biden, but I need.
I don't have any of those.
Yeah, I don't know that I have them anymore.
I never heard us do Bowling with Biden, but I like that.
Well, you've never heard us do a lot of things that we did on the show because you clearly didn't listen to the show when you were doing it.
That's not true.
I am
just saying.
Astounded by how much you've missed. There was a great show going on, and you didn't even know about it.
Bowling for Biden.
Yeah, Bowling for Biden. We did some good ones. We'll do Bowling with Biden, Bowling for Biden in a moment. Right now, you've asked for it. You've got it. Your Chunk of Trump.
Open wide.
Ready?
Here comes your Chunk of Trump.
It's my favorite food.
With your first bite, here's Mark Thompson.
I have a feeling it's going to be beautiful.
Maybe Diane can do a graphic for Chunk of Trump. You know, she's our Chunk of Trump graphics person, potentially. The former press secretary of Donald Trump says that Trump showed classified documents to people on the Mar-a-Lago dining patio, everybody. Yeah. It's a bonus with the daily special. You get an appetizer, a healthy salad, your choice of entree, and a peek at classified documents, but only on the dining patio at Mar-a-Lago.
That's nice.
Stephanie Grisham, the former White House press secretary, said that she saw former President Trump show classified documents to people at the Mar-a-Lago residence in Florida. Quote, I watched him show documents to people at Mar-a-Lago on the dining room patio. Quote, so he has no respect for classified information. Never did. Trump pleaded not guilty, of course, last month to 37 counts related to his alleged mishandling of classified documents, as you're aware, and his efforts to block the federal government from recovering those documents. Then there's a recording and all the rest. But this is new information from Stephanie Grisham, the former press secretary. She saw it, Kim, right there on the patio. And I'm really starting to think this Trump guy didn't treat things with a lot of respect when he was there at the White House. Yeah. Anyway, that's your Chunk of Trump.
Open wide.
Ready?
Here comes your Chunk of Trump.
It's my favorite food.
With your first bite, here's Mark Thompson.
I have a feeling it's going to be beautiful.
Albert, it's the clothes I need.
That's it for this edition.
Well, I really enjoyed it.
Make sure to join us again next time.
I think you might want to listen.
I don't understand it, Albert.
For another Chunk of Trump.
Get the opens and closes. I'm sorry. All right. I bet a lot of members of Mar-a-Lago just happen to be foreign nationals. Thank you, John Watson. You're so right. I mean, what a patsy. Now, David K. Johnston feels it's more than just bravado, that what was happening with Donald Trump was transactional, that Saudis might have gotten information about that Iran thing. You know, there are interests in the Middle East, the Omanis would benefit from information that is associated with intelligence data and military data of the sort that Trump was waving around. He believes that there's a transactional aspect to this. So,
well, if they can prove that, then I don't know how you don't convict of some more serious charge.
Yeah.
Treason seems about right.
Yeah, treason's a weird You're right, though. That should be something. I just don't know. From what I understand, treason can be a little bit. Now, for Kim, who, despite being on the show for a year and a half or whatever it was, has never heard it before. Are you
kidding me?
This is Bowling with Biden. Yeah.
Live from KGO Lanes, it's Bowling with Biden.
It's go time. This man's going to win a lot of political offices.
Now, here's your Bowling with Biden host, Mark Thompson.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you. It's even got the KGO signage on it. How about that?
Wow. So we haven't done that since the KGO days, right?
No, it's not since KGO, actually, right? That way, you have high ground there, Kim.
You're ridicule me for that.
Well, I mean, I'm just saying. Bowling with Biden, I've never heard of that. What was that?
What is that?
It was on the show that you were on.
Was I?
That's all I'm saying.
Why are you yelling?
I think that was during the Brett days.
All right. The judge, a federal judge, is issuing a broad preliminary injunction limiting the federal government and the Biden administration from communicating with social media companies about online content. The judge is saying that the Biden administration's policing of social media posts likely violated the First Amendment. It was a 155-page ruling issued yesterday, and it was a broad ruling. Terry Doughty of Louisiana, the judge there, barring White House officials and multiple federal agencies from contacting in any way social media companies with the purpose in those contexts of suppressing political views and other speech normally protected from government censorship. The judge's injunction came in a lawsuit led by the Republican attorneys general of Missouri and Louisiana, who alleged that the Biden administration fostered a sprawling, quote, federal censorship enterprise in its effort to stamp out what it viewed as rampant disinformation circulating on social media. A lot of this was related to pandemic stuff. The government, the lawsuit claimed, pressured social media platforms to scrub away disfavored views about the pandemic and health policies, the origins of the pandemic. The Hunter Biden laptop story as well was in there, election security, and other divisive topics. So you see that they are essentially taking away in this ruling Biden and the Biden administration and the government and whatever existing administration occupies the government, the ability of those entities to have a place at the table, right? They're saying you can't contact these social media companies to suppress information or to boost information. Never before has a federal judge set such sweeping limits on how the federal government and its associated agents may communicate with online platforms. This is all from the Wall Street Journal. Some legal scholars have been skeptical that the government can be held responsible for content moderation decisions ultimately made by private companies, or that courts could intervene without chilling legitimate government speech about controversial matters of public interest. But again, this is an injunction issued by this district judge. It will be appealed, I'm sure, by the Justice Department. And this came down on Independence Day, which is just kind of wild as well. So, anyway, that's the news out of the Biden administration, the new restrictions on the Biden administration that have come to light.
It's interesting, isn't it?
It is interesting. I'd like to look at the specific instances, and they are there. They have the Twitter files, the data dump that's associated with that. I'd like to look at that more closely. It's interesting that you say, well, they're a private company. They can do whatever they want. You say that about Twitter, right? You say that about Elon Musk. He can do whatever he wants. It's a private company. Although Twitter's a publicly held company, or, I guess he has controlling ownership. But how do you control these media companies? I don't know. They have this sense of it being an open environment. Even where we are right now on YouTube, we have the sense of it being an open environment, but we get demonetized all the time, mistakenly.
Right.
And we can't say certain things, do certain things on this platform that we might otherwise. I don't know. It's the social media world and the empire created. It's an interesting one. I think ultimately this does it suppress speech in service of trying to avoid suppressing speech? I don't know. I think you don't want the government having any ability to suppress speech. So in that sense, I'm with this judge. But on the merits of the case, we should ask David Katz tomorrow. That's your Bowling with Biden.
That's all for this edition.
There's your new leader.
But join us again next time for Bowling with Biden.
Should we leave the KGO reference on the Bowling with Biden?
Why not? I mean, there's no KGO anymore, so might as well.
Yeah, I don't know. It's kind of cool. It's kind of a throwback. It's a throwback thing.
Open wide.
Ready? Not that one, Albert. God. Well,
I've
loved our time.
I'm sorry.
I've loved our time.
Live from KGO Lanes.
Yeah, maybe it's good. It works. Yeah, that's Craig. Well, that's your Bowling with Biden. Well, I've had fun being back. We've covered a little bit scattered today. I'll grant you that, but it's been a fun scatter. You know.
And we broke some news today.
We did. We broke some news. I like that. Now, that's going to happen at the end of this month. We'll begin to, we'll begin to ease our stuff out of the 10 o'clock hour and move it to the 11 o'clock hour. Thank you, Elwin. Acknowledged you earlier, and it's nice to acknowledge you again. And you, Ann, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
And thank you so much, Karen Jennings, for $9.99. Yes, thank you. Big shout out. I thought there's somebody who contributed. There it is. Sausalito Steve. What up, Sausalito Steve? Big shout out.
Big shout out.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
And thank you so much. And also, big shout out. I give you the full compliment. Yeah. Kim is headed over to Nikki's show. Albert and I are going to go piece the wreckage together, and we'll be back tomorrow.
I'm Shadow Stevens for the Mark Thompson Show. Bye-bye.
David Katz joins us tomorrow. Belinda Weymouth with It's the Planet Stupid, and more. Until then...